Yeah. It's the first. It's the first. It's the first episode. It's the first. Might be your last.
But I'm looking for my first.
First episode podcast. Welcome to First Episode Podcast, a cherry popping debrief of your next binge-worthy television series. I'm your host, Motown Maurice.
I'm Atara G.
And I'm guest host Raj Jawa.
Today we're cherry popping Silo.
In a ruined and toxic future, a community exists in a giant underground silo that plunges hundreds of stories deep. There, people live in a society full of regulations they are meant to believe protect them.
The genres are drama, dystopian, and science fiction.
Would like to add a little bit to what was just said. The Silo is a story about the last 10,000 people on Earth, their mile-deep home protecting them from the toxic and deadly world outside. However, no one knows when or why the Silo was built, and anyone who try to find out face fatal consequences. Atara, there's some things wrong with the Silo.
Yes.
Can you share a few things that are wrong with the Silo?
So whoever built the silo obviously had access to some pretty sophisticated technology. Yet, we know the silo runs hundreds of stories deep, and it's only stairs. There's no escalator. There's no elevator. Only stairs.
Only stairs.
So I guess we just value engineered out that bit of technology.
I mean, elevators are the work of the devil. I don't know.
I guess so. What struck me most about this episode is actually maybe didn't strike me. I'm not surprised by it, but pretty much these people are living in a silo and they're being controlled by fear of what they perceive to be outside. And clearly they've been doing this for 140 years because everybody is, a sheep, just a bunch of sheep walking around, scared to say what they really think or ask questions.
Because they're constantly bombarded with fear.
Yes.
Did you get a vibe, though, that a lot of people are feeling this way? Or is it just like a few? Like, what is your... Like, it seems like it's just, like, at least from this episode, it seems like it's just a select few that are kind of coming onto it. Because even some of the people that are suspicious, as it were, in this episode, didn't really find any, didn't really chase down any leads until, pretty late.
Well, they're suspicious, but their fear quells that suspicion. Their fear quells the curiosity that one would normally have to investigate their suspicions.
Sure. Oh, and I guess too, you can't really hypothesize when you don't know anything.
When you don't know
like
anything.
you can't really, like, you could just make wild accusations, but there's really they have no basis for anything that's happened before, basically this moment, as it were. So yeah, I guess it would be difficult to be like, I mean, one, you wouldn't question because you didn't even know there's anything to question per se. Yeah, I don't know. But then maybe there is a human intuition there as well. Like, if you're in that kind of environment, even if your memory's been scrubbed or generations have passed and you forgot why this happened. Yeah, the pitch of like they erased our history is a very interesting way to put it, because you can erase books and data and all this stuff. You can't erase memories. So the fact that they keep going back to, they keep saying erase our history, makes like what oral tradition has been way before books and all this stuff. So where's the oral tradition in this silo?
Well, they've obviously instituted rules where you can't say certain things.
But are we already maybe we're already past that generation that had the knowledge of when they built the silo. Like 140 is kind of around that time where, the founders, presuming they were all maybe young or whatever, are now gone,
And again, just a note to our audience, there will be spoilers here, and I'm about to say one. They've clearly have breeded out the the more stronger personalities out of the population. So anyone who would want to ask questions or question authority or not be compliant and obedient, they clearly have a process to make sure those type of people aren't reproducing and passing on those traits.
Well, they end up cleaning, right?
And they make that clear too with the discovery about the birth control. But why do we think they let people think they have this freedom at all? Like why not just deny those people all the time? Let the obedient breed as wanted, and just keep denying the free thinkers.
Because you have to give people a sense of choice. If you go back to the Matrix, remember how originally in the beginning the Matrix didn't work in a perfect society? Remember how I was saying we originally created the Matrix and it was a perfect society, but things kept malfunctioning because the human race needs to have a little bit of, they can't really exist in a utopia, So that's kind of like here, like you can't say, no, you have no freedom. You have to give the people a sense that they have freedom, a sense, manufactured freedom and manufactured choice, which is exactly the time that we're living in right now.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. There's a lot of like elements of, they don't say it, but it's elements of faith. Basically, you take our word for it. You don't need to know the knowledge or the whatever. The stuff that obviously still exists, as we find out in this episode, the relics. And yet to find that, to look at it is heresy, is to be excommunicated. But also the whole idea too of, if you don't want to be here, then we will expel you. Like it's not even like they're keeping people there per se. Like but it's almost like a ritual. As soon as you say you want to leave, now you can't go back.
And they use that. First of all, someone who's asking questions, you don't want them around. You don't want them to infect the rest of the population with your question asking. And if you want to go outside, fine, you can go outside. We'll use that as an opportunity to re-cement fear in everyone else.
That's why I had a presumption, and it didn't pan out. But I had a presumption that when they were all going to gather to watch, the spectacle of someone going out to clean, that they would all be kind of bloodthirsty or like more, Colosseum, like the Roman Colosseum of the kind of end of the decline of human civilization attitude. But they weren't. They were all kind of somber and more just curious.
They were hopeful. Remember on Noah's Ark when they sent the dove off, and the dove came back with a branch, so we knew that the world wasn't flooded anymore. That's kind of what this is like. They're sending this woman out. She's dressed in white. She's the dove. They're sending her out to clean. If she drops dead, disappointment. But if she lives, the rest of us can go outside now too. She was the dove.
I like that. That's a really good one. That's a good analogy.
I am so afraid that the show is going to just be a long-winded, like, past exploration, though, and then he'll finally go outside. Like, I don't want them to do that. That would be a real, like, disappointment. Like, I want to know what's going on,
I do wonder, like, where are they going to go with this show? I wondered about that for Severance. Oh, we did finish Severance. I don't know if I told you.
right.
I need to
We
watch
did
that. I do need to
was-
watch that.
Severance was good. Especially, it got better and better
It took
and better.
off. It picks up pace.
Yeah. Especially like, season 2 is like we're waiting.
Nice,
We're like,
nice.
what's happening?
Yeah, I think I got 3 or 4 episodes into that.
Okay. Yeah, it gets better. It gets better. It's just a twist to it. But I'm just like, they're in this this underground silo. Like, how long are they gonna be there? There's a lot of episodes, more seasons to come. It's just you just kind of wonder like what they're gonna do with it.
Right. Well, it's kind of Fallout with Mind Wipe, because in Fallout people aren't oblivious to the world outside. They know it's probably irradiated. They might not be like fully aware of the day-to-day conditions, but the vault dwellers are not like they're not. These people are almost babyish to the outside world. They have no recognition, no realization, and then without that shared history or what have you, they don't really have anything but the silo.
And they keep them further. So they keep them all in fear of, going outside, and then having them exist in this silo that's hundreds of stories. You can only really exist within your neighborhood, right? So you're keeping people segregated from each other. Because remember, it took them days to walk down to where the generator was.
Yeah.
And when she wanted to go see the IT guy, she had to walk down the night before, stay overnight in a hostel. So they're keeping, they're whoever built the silo, was that a part of their original plan to not create a more efficient and expedient way to move between levels?
To keep it stratified in that way, yeah, maybe.
And the mayor, does she really not know what she says she doesn't know? Because when she was up there and she was like, we should celebrate with applause, and then the people were yelling and screaming, and then she's like, we should celebrate with horns, and then everybody blowed the horns. She kind of looked to the police officer at her side and like smiled at him the way you would look at someone when a cute little baby does something, like, oh, look at the dumb masses blowing their horns. Like, does she know more? And does she know more than she said she does, or have access to data that everyone else doesn't, or knowledge that everyone else doesn't? She is clearly older. So, she's maybe 60, 65. So maybe she knows more than a lot of other people.
The other older cop does seem like he knows more too.
Yeah.
They played him like he might know a little more as well. He seemed a little more not uncomfortable, but just a little more like uneasy, I guess, with the speech, as if he knew something else.
And who's Judicial? Judicial has listeners, like what the fertility lady was saying.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a very interesting setup to I mean, I hope something that's very, pays off well, because you go through any of these networks and there's so many shows and so many movies, and it's just like, are these worth it?
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times they are, but you have to sit through it and maybe you give it a shot.
So the show opens with him locking himself in a cell and exclaiming that he wants to go outside. And then the rest of the episode is basically backstory.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if backstory ends with episode 1, and then everything else is the story moving forward from when he goes outside, or does he even go outside?
I know that's what my
do we
concern.
spend the whole season with him in that cell, and that's going through the backstory?
Yep. It's just one of those first episodes where you just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was bummed out that the IT guy died, because remember when she told her husband, I'm going to go outside, and if I start to clean, you'll know that it's nice and green out here, And if I don't clean, well, you just know I made a bad decision. I think she said the same thing to the IT guy, because when she got outside and she started to clean, you could see the IT guy, the same recognition that the husband had in his face, the IT guy had that in his face as well. That's why I believe she started to clean and then she started to turn and walk away. The image of her turning and walking away, I don't think that's real.
I think the most confusing thing though is whoever the higher ups, their attitude is not seemingly one of control. Obviously it is, but they don't seem like they're trying to really prevent people from going outside or finding the truth. Maybe they don't even know the truth, to be honest with you. Like maybe there's a level higher than them that they don't even know that there is green or whatever out there.
But I think people wanting to go outside, as infrequent as that may happen, serves a purpose and they don't have to worry about maintaining order, because people wanting to go outside and then showing those people expire or die helps maintain order. So they don't have to work that hard to do it.
I agree, but also I just as of at least as far as this episode, and maybe they're hiding it, which kind of would suck. But like, it doesn't seem like anyone's that sinister as of yet. You know, the only character that seems a little bit sinister is her boss. But that's just because he always looks a little bit
Howard or whatever his
yeah
name
yeah
is.
oh yeah
Bernard.
Howard. Oh yeah, but he always looks a little bit sinister. But
Yeah.
but yeah, he's the only one that I'm a little suspicious about at the moment. Like, I'm suspicious about I'm just gonna call her overseer because I don't have another term. Going Fallout. Like, she doesn't seem like she's evil or sinister yet. Like, her intentions don't seem bad. It just seems like she's trying to administrate fairly. Maybe a little bit. What do you call it? Favorably, since it's a wife of a police officer in her midst. But yeah, I'm interested to see if that's just going to be a change. Like, haha, I did know things, or yeah.
I think what we're witnessing in terms of the characters that we see, we're witnessing puppets, sheep, and rebels.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there may very well be a fourth group that kind of like who's running the puppets. Basically, we don't know. And maybe the puppets are themselves the rulers. We just don't know what more to think about that right now.
So let's get into the potential, Atara.
I don't know if I'm in the mood to watch this show because there's Fallout. There's so many other shows that are similar to this.
Don't you want to know what's going on outside, though?
I think it's green outside. She cleaned the window. It's green.
I think they haven't given us enough compelling reason to care about outside yet. Like, there may be a very good reason to care about it. I just feel like they focused on their relationship basically, and the mystery of outside, but we don't really have a good compelling. The only other compelling like reasoning I've seen so far is the tunnel in the schematic where he's like, "What's that? Where does that go?" or whatever.
Yeah. The murder of the IT guy,
Mm-hmm.
and what's up with that generator? Is it going to ultimately fail and force everyone out?
Sure, I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense.
But I'm going to Cobra Kai this. Meaning it'll probably be something I watch when there's literally nothing else for me to watch.
Yeah, it's backlog, like deep in the backlog. I got you.
Yeah.
I agree with Raj. It's interesting first episode, but there's nothing thoroughly compelling as of yet. For me, in terms of cherries, I'm giving it a 2.5. I'll give another episode a chance, but I want to be compelled.
There's nothing original about the story.
Not yet. I think the birth control aspect was interesting.
I mean, we're living in that in real time, so I already know how that plays out.
Yeah. But that was interesting. So yeah, I'm giving it 2.5 cherries for me for now.
I mean, I'm a fan of conspiratorial hierarchies, so like I gave it like when I wrote is like 4 cherries, which is probably pretty high for me. I don't know if that's the highest I've given.
Yeah,
I know, but I also feel like it may have front loaded a lot of the interesting stuff, and now is going to take a slow pace to go forward. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'm just not. I'm not sure. Like I want to see it. I probably will watch a little more. But also, they may have just given me all the excitement already, and now have kind of trickle the rest of the excitement through. Like I said, I could see this being like him relaying the backstory of their relationship or other things about the silo, and the last episode is him getting out, and we don't even know if it's good outside still. Mm-hmm. Just like the he walks out silhouetted against the bright light.
Yeah. Backtracking a little bit, how cruel is it that he's had to live the last 2 years with her body right outside the window? Yeah. If what they're seeing outside the window all is in fact manufactured, how cruel is it that he's had to look at that for the last 2 years?
Yeah.
And why did it take him 2 years?
Good question. Do you have a cherry grade?
I'm going to say 2.5, only because the stories, we've heard this story before. Mm-hmm. But if I watch this, it would just be to see how some of these characters to develop, especially the police officer, or the sheriff, because he's such a law abider, follow the rule type. It would be cool to see his character arc if he does in fact, start breaking rules.
That is the kind of interesting. I mean, we have seen it before between even major movies like Fahrenheit 451, Equilibrium, 1984. Those are the major ones that kind of touch on that, like character that is a rule follower and then becomes a more rebellious or more questioning. So yeah, but it'd be interesting to see if this setting or whatever does it, or it's just window dressing over a story that we've already basically seen of like, realization, there's corruption. I'm living in something I didn't realize.
The only benefit of a doubt that I can give this show is so far, Apple TV has selected good choices to produce.
Yes, Apple TV has some very good science fiction. I don't know, Raj, if you've heard of the show Foundation on Apple TV.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
So good.
Yeah. We're giving Severance a good grade after watching it.
Yeah.
We're about to review the next episode is an Apple TV show. I think they're making good choices. So, I'm going to reveal the future of this show in terms of new seasons, and there is going to be new seasons. So there's a reason that they're continuing to produce it. So with that benefit of a doubt, maybe it gets better.
I just would like to say that while we are watching Apple TV shows, we are not watching it on Apple TV, so we are not giving Apple our money.
Sure. With that being said, let's get into the specs.
Silo, released Friday, May 5th, 2023. There are currently 2 seasons. Season 1 has 10 episodes, and Season 2 has 4 episodes, now releasing on Fridays until January 17th, 2025.
The average episode duration is approximately 50 minutes. The network is Apple TV+. The IMDb rating is 8.1, and the Rotten Tomatoes top critic score is 74%.
A little trivia about this show. Season 1 covers the first 30 chapters of the book Wool. The 10-episode drama series is based on Hugh Howey's New York Times bestselling trilogy of dystopian novels. It's called Wool.
As in having the wool pulled over your eyes.
Exactly. And you notice when they go out, remember they were dressing her to go out and clean to send her outside? They had a little piece of wool that they put in her pocket, and they showed the woman putting the wool in her pocket and closing it up to clean. Very symbolic. Take this wool and clean the windows so you can see outside, but you're not even seeing what's really outside.
I've never heard that phrase before.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. So that's just a phrase. That
it is. It's a very common phrase. Pull the wool over your eyes. Yeah. Pull the wool over someone's eyes.
Ah, are you more interested now?
There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, which I do appreciate. I think the writers did a good job of the metaphors and things like that. But still, it's a Cobra Kai.
With potential to get better. We shall see. I will say that another sign that this is a good series, because we're only basing this on the first episode, and for us, it's not enough so far. But Apple ordered 2 more seasons of this series pretty much the month after it released. Like, the immediate month. 2 more seasons.
How far can you go?
I mean, we'll have to. I mean, by choice, but we'll have to see if it's worthwhile. Like, at least one of us will probably watch it and see.
Yeah, it's because it's actually kind of. I wanted to talk about the color palette. It's very brown.
Yeah.
Right. It's somewhat dull in many ways, cinematically. So, I don't know. We just have to keep watching to see if it'll get better. Those are our thoughts on Silo.
Thank you for trusting us.
We are honored to be your first.
For information about this podcast and more, please visit motelmaries.com.